stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So just for everybody's information, rules of procedure adopted annually to ensure a productive meeting. The select board meetings are in the public, not of the public. The members of the public in attendance are entitled to the opportunity to comment, but the purpose of the meeting is for the board to be able to effectively and efficiently conduct the necessary business to govern the town. All questions and comments are to be directed to the chair, and the rules of procedure indicate that there will be 2 minutes allotted for comment from any single person on any subject. The rules of procedure are posted in the town hall and available for everyone to review. Thank you. Introduction, please.
Okay. I'm Kristen Powers. We have Bob Jones, Mike Beecher, Jessica Van Ort, Terry Brown, and Rich Hewlett here. Online tonight we have Cam Smith and Jeffrey Wallin. Everybody else who's in attendance here, just please be sure that you sign in. There's a sign-in sheet at the front of the room on the table. And before you speak, you'll just, when called on by the chairperson, you'll just need to be sure to address yourself or identify yourself for the purpose of the minutes. Additions this evening, there was an updated agenda that was sent out. Deputy Director Gonyea, I hope I'm getting that correctly, and Director Wallin are here under pre-requested to talk about the ORI number, and we'll also have some library concerns in the facilities report, or some additions. I don't think there are any deletions, and then the minutes that need approval are from October 17th and the special meeting minutes from the 24th, the budget meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
We need a motion for each one, right?
You can just do one
We can
for
do
both.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Director Wallin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and I want to make sure I'm coming through okay. Can people hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Thank you for confirming that, and I do sincerely apologize for not being on camera. Despite my best attempts to get the webcam on my computer to work, it doesn't want to, so rather than waste time trying to fix it, we'll move forward. So I do apologize for not being on camera today. Also, Deputy Director Gonyea had another situation come up, so he is not with us this evening. So a question was brought forward concerning what's called an ORI number and concerning the town. And so what I wanted to do was provide a little bit of background information and then hopefully answer any questions that the board may have concerning that. An ORI number stands for Originating Agency Identifier, and this is assigned by the CJIS Division of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI. And this is assigned to qualified entities nationwide. Broadly speaking, a qualified agency would be a criminal justice agency, which is defined as a governmental agency which performs the administration of criminal justice under a statute or executive order, and which allocates more than 50% of its budget to the administration of criminal justice. Furthermore, a definition of the administration of criminal justice is provided, and this is a bit of a laundry list, so my apologies, but the detention, detection, apprehension, pre-trial release, post-trial release, prosecution, adjudication, correctional supervision, or rehabilitation of those accused persons or criminal offenders. Now, this may include agencies such as police, criminal courts, and correction agencies, along with subunits of non-criminal justice agencies performing a function of the administration of criminal justice. As an example, the state of Vermont does not have an ORI number. However, many criminal justice agencies within the state, including state agencies such as the Vermont State Police, the Vermont Crime Information Center, and the Department of Motor Vehicles, have unique ORI numbers assigned to them, but there is not a master number for the entire state. Similarly, in towns such as my home of Burlington, the city of Burlington does not have an ORI number assigned to it. However, the Burlington Police Department does. Certain other governmental agencies may also qualify for limited access to restricted data as directed by federal statute, including domestic violence courts, regional dispatch centers, railroad and campus police, the National Insurance Crime Bureau, departments of motor vehicles, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And finally, I'll note that an ORI is not required for a law enforcement agency to carry out their duties or responsibilities to their community. Similarly, the issuance of an ORI does not mean that the agency has met all certification or other requirements that the state or municipality may have for that agency to function as appropriate. I hope that background information is helpful, and I'm really here to answer any additional questions that I can.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Jeffrey at this point? Tom?
It's this little thing on the table.
Oh, I see.
It'll find you.
Tom Covino, one of the constables for town of Pawlet. I'm aware that several other, I guess I'm not saying it, but constitulataries have received ORIs. What would this town need to do to qualify to meet that?
Now, thank you for the question. And there are a few constabularies that previously were issued ORIs. Unfortunately, it was before my time with the VCIC or the Vermont Crime Information Center, so I'm not sure exactly what steps they went through. I do not have firsthand knowledge of that. However, essentially what needs to happen is any agency, regardless of the nature, whether it's a constabulary or others, would need to go ahead and submit their authorizing statute or executive order, a copy of their budget, which indicates at least half of their expenses are towards the administration of criminal justice, and the specific information that they are looking to access, whether it's all criminal justice information or only a subset thereof. We would then pull that information together, review it with the submitting agency, and then ultimately submit it to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. As noted, they're the ones that assign these numbers. It's not done by VCIC or the state. Should an ORI then be issued, it would then be up to that agency to work with VCIC to determine whether actual computer access can be granted, because one of the things we're going to look for is whether all individuals with access to said systems have completed the necessary background checks and the location where they're going to access said information meets the definition of a secure location. So it cannot be in an area that's accessible to the public. It has to be under the control of the law enforcement or criminal justice agency, and have other things to make sure that individuals that are not required or allowed to have access to that restricted data would be barred as appropriate. So for example, where I work, you have to have a fingerprint supported record check on file, complete security awareness training, and also have a key card to badge yourself into our offices, for example.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions regarding the ORI or how to go about the process of us applying for one? Well, Jeffrey's here. Frank?
Is there the ability of multiple towns to have a shared secure access location with such technology or computer would exist, and the individuals would still have access to that one location shared by multiple towns?
That's a very good question. I think the way that would most likely function would be under the primary jurisdiction of the town where it's physically located, and then other entities may have access to that same facility, but they would each have, because each agency has their own ORI, would need to establish an ORI, so when they're using that system, they're noted as being with their home agency. But I think you could have a scenario where there's a single location with secure access and multiple individuals, as long as they all meet the security requirements, have access to said location.
Tom?
To follow up on that, can that be in a different town other than the town of Pawlet?
Such as?
State police.
Well, we have access to Valcor by working for another agency. So could we have access to that through Pawlet and through this other town, Fairhaven?
Could you hear that question?
It didn't come through incredibly clear. Could you restate? I'm sorry.
Could we have access to Valcor through the town of Pawlet in another town? Both
So
constables. Both constables.
any access.
Sorry, go ahead.
Any access to a third-party system such as Valcor is only managed by that entity. An assignment of ORI should not be used as a gatekeeping function because that's really independent of any third-party access system such as a records management system like Valcor. An agency could, though, if I may, to follow up on that, an agency could receive an ORI but not have their own access. However, when they're accessing data at another node or location, they would need to utilize that specific ORI when conducting business on behalf of that agency. So if you have one individual that works for two agencies, they would have to make sure they know, if you'll pardon the term, they'd have to know which hat they were wearing when they were accessing or using and noting said system.
Okay. Thank you.
Brad Meyerson. What's the function behind the discussion? What is the importance of having an ORI? Why is the town, why are we having this discussion? I'm kind of in the dark about what's going on.
Because Tom has stated previously that he's not able to get important information when they have a suspect that they want to find information about. Is that correct?
We don't have access to their, what they call it, their 29, which is their criminal background. So if we get a criminal case, follow the proper procedures to cite that person into court, we don't have access to their criminal information to turn that over to the state's attorney. So those cases basically are not being prosecuted.
Wouldn't in that instance, because it's directed to the constable, but I'm asking you as the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't in that instance the constable call state police dispatch for a record check? Which
They
is
can't release that to us. That's the problem.
without a number?
Right.
Okay.
Am I correct to understand that?
That would be correct, yes.
Yes. Okay. So again, those cases we've had, this past year, we've had several charges brought against certain individuals, and those cases were not followed up on because we couldn't prosecute them because we were lacking that information. So it basically ties our hands if we get a domestic case or any other citable case. We can't pursue that case and to its completion to get it into the court.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Jeffrey? Well, I think you've brought us a lot of good information tonight. We appreciate you coming down or joining us via Zoom, and we'll keep this ball rolling and see where we can go.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to meet. I do apologize I couldn't make it in person, and again that my camera's not working, but certainly if the board or anyone present has any questions, certainly feel free to reach out to me. I'm easy to find just at vcic.vermont.gov. Thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good night.
You too. Thank you, everyone.
Is there any announcements? Nothing. Zoning administrators report?
No report tonight.
Nothing tonight. And planning commission?
Yes, we have a planning commission report. The planning commission met last Monday, October 23. We had a 2-hour-long meeting. The entire meeting was spent going line by line through the town plan and making updates. We completed this work. Yes, good, go us. We were worried we might not be able to complete in time. And the current draft will be sent to Rutland Regional Planning Commission so they can update outdated numbers and drafts. That's actually already been sent. We will also be getting updated information for the emergency preparedness section from Bob Morlino. We actually just got that today. With those final edits in place, we plan to be able to vote on the updated town plan at our November meeting. From there, we will warn a public meeting, and after that, we will send the town plan to the select board for its own public process. This town plan must be adopted by the end of February 2024, because that is 8 years after our previous town plan, and that plan expires. That's my
Any
report.
questions for the planning commission? Okay, thank you. Road foreman's report.
So the grading has been completed. Rick and Ralph have been servicing the equipment. Rick has been getting the truck set up for winter maintenance. Rick got the salt shed fired up in Pawlet, and we ordered 64 tons of salt to be delivered. And the sign has been ordered for the Towsley Hill intersection, along with all of the other signs that we determined we were in need of when the sign inventory took place. So as those continue to trickle in, they will be installed. And also Rick provided a winter maintenance operations policy, which you all have a copy of. This was something that he must have came across in the town garage. So it was sent along to me, and I just wanted everybody to take a look at it because I think that it could be worthwhile to update that and have it be readopted by the board. The last group that it was adopted by, there's no date on this one, but it was Keith, Bob, Ronald Taylor, Clarence Decker, and Rebecca Kramer. So that was quite a few select boards ago. So I just thought in reading through it, it could be really helpful to readopt this, as there are a lot of common questions in there. So if you all like it, I could retype it, and if there's any updates that you'd like to make.
It'd be good to post this around in a few different locations as well.
Yeah, we could put it on the website and here in the town hall and wherever else you see fit. Also would be really good to provide to new employees. Something that I've been doing a lot of over the last couple of weeks is kind of trying to tighten up our HR rules and regulations and how we do things here in the town, just through consulting with the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. And it seems like this could be a helpful document to be able to provide to the employees of the highway department as well.
Seems like that would be a good thing to readopt, I think, and then it can be out there so people are aware of. Did anybody see any changes, or do we just kind of want to retype it as a rough copy, and then we can, if we have something we spy if you share it with us prior to the next meeting, then we can adopt it at the next meeting.
My only question is, nothing's been changed in terms of road mileage, right? I know that every year we talk about how many roads we have, but everything's still the same. Would that be
Should
my
be the
safe
same,
to-
but it's posted in there. I can compare it
Okay.
to the map in the
Yeah.
clerk's office. The only change I have would be like number 8, that it refers to sand or salt, and we're using the stone aggregate now on the dirt roads
Instead of sand,
and
changing sand to
in place of
stone
sand, or you could
aggregate.
could add stone aggregate to it as an option, depending on what type of storm it is.
Is the policy still the same about mailboxes, signs, etc.? I'll retype that and send it out to everybody, and then I'll put it on for the next meeting.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Do we have new employees? Do we have a date for the new employees to start or not?
So today, Nate and Colby, I met them down here, and Julie was here as well, and they completed their pre-employment drug and alcohol testing. So the person that came to do that, it was this mobile collection unit. So he came, they send that off in the mail. He said it should get, I think it goes to Kansas maybe. He said it should be there, I think, yeah, within like 72 hours, and then we should hear back. So hopefully by the end of the week. And then their driver's licenses for their motor vehicle records had to go via mail. So Julie was great and edited the warrants. So those are included in tonight's warrants. So once those get approved, those will go out in the mail tomorrow. And we should hopefully get those back. And then as soon as we get all that back, we can establish a first date. So Colby is currently working for himself, so he's ready to go whenever we tell him that he's ready to go. And the other employee will have to give notice, and we'll be able to start from there. So something that, as I've been sinking my teeth into the whole HR thing for the town, something that everybody needs to be thinking about is how we want to consider like onboarding and first day and training and all of that. I mean, we spoke a little bit today, but in doing my research, it's really the kind of human resources role for the town falls on the boss, which is the select board. So that's just something that we should all keep in mind, as we don't currently have a active foreman. So getting these folks going and supported, we'll just want to have a plan in place. And then moving forward, as we continue to hire new people, it's just there are a lot of rules and regulations that the state has out there that we need to be in compliance with, that I think there hasn't been one devoted person to doing this. So just something to keep in mind.
Okay, that sounds great. Any updates on the new truck?
Not other than it's been pushed back to, after the first of the year. We've been working on the other trucks. We've got them pretty much ready for snow. The headgear's on them. They're ready to hook up to the plow. We do have to do some work on the 2013. The cross conveyor's in pretty rough shape, so I made some phone calls today to see about sourcing the complete cross conveyor, because it's completely rotted out. So if we have to take that out and rebuild it and fabricate panels and for it, we're going to have quite a lot tied up. So I'm going to get some pricing on a cross conveyor. It is working now, but it's going to be hard pressed to make it all the way through winter. So, but other than that, we put the sander on the 5500 today, so that's ready to go. So looks like we'll have to put some salt on here shortly.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the highway department? Okay. Anything from the assessors? No. Town clerk's memo?
Julie, do you want to do that, or would you like me to? Oh wait,
She's still muted.
town clerk. Sorry, Julie. Hold on, I'll do the clerk's memo. Okay. From Deb, there's a notification from the ANR, and new activity is about an indirect discharge general permit. So there's this email should be going out to all of you. The status of that is in the draft decision public comment period. So everybody should take a chance or take an opportunity to review that. There is a limited event DLL application for Max Market LLC. No signatures are needed, just document approval. So Department of Liquor and Lottery application from Max Market. Important information regarding 2024 elections. Now is the time to be generating your nominating petitions if your term is up and you are interested in running for another term. And happy Halloween from Deb. Do you want to look at the liquor?
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to see the A&R?
Yeah.
There's not much to it. It just states what's happening, but.
I think that's gonna need a motion.
Yes.
I'll move that we approve the limited event application for, Max Market LLC.
I'll second that.
Anybody have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thanks.
So we're good. Julie?
Hi, just the two warrants this week. Payroll 9,732.46, accounts payable 29,901.13. General fund monies are 15,447.57, highway 22,483.32, and wastewater 1702.70. And happy Halloween.
Thank you.
Yay.
Any questions for Julie?
I have a few things that I want to bring up since I went to this, town finance training last week, but I'll do that after the warrants. I'll move that we approve the warrants number 24021 and 24022.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, so a couple things. So I went to a training last week by VLCT about town finance, and since I am the liaison to the treasurer's office, there were a couple things that came up that I wanted to mention and maybe see, Julie, if you had a couple answers for me about a few things. So I learned a lot about reserve funds. Am I correct in thinking that we have about 4 reserve funds? We have the one for the capital maintenance, we have the wastewater. What are the other ones we have?
We have the equipment fund. Do you mean like designated funds that can only be used for specific purposes?
Yeah, reserve funds, what it said in the training was that they have to be approved by the taxpayers to be created, but after they've been created, then each year we can add things to them as a line item in the budget.
So we have the capital maintenance, the equipment, wastewater I think is like a separate category. It's not really a reserve fund because it's not entirely a government fund, so I would pull that out and treat it entirely separately.
Okay.
Capital maintenance, the equipment. We have the reappraisal fund.
Right, the reappraisal fund. Yeah.
Town hall renovations.
Mm-hmm.
What about the landfill closure?
I don't know if that had to be like voter approved because it was sort of mandated on us. I'm not sure, but it is to be treated as a fund that is only for the use of that until we can close it officially.
Right. And so those reserve funds are ones where we can put money in them and it rolls over from year to year rather than our regular budget, which we have to which is just for 1 year, correct?
Correct, it's not part of the regular budget
Right,
at all.
okay.
It's not reported as such or anything, yeah.
So I know that when we were budgeting last week, we were talking a little bit about that we don't have a reserve fund for buildings. We have the one for capital maintenance, but not for capital construction. So if we wanted to make a reserve fund, and I asked this question at the meeting, if we wanted to make a reserve fund for capital construction, obviously we'd have to put that to the taxpayers to create such a fund. But then any gift or grant money that we got for capital construction, I asked if we could put that into that reserve fund, and they said that we could. So that would be a way to, if we wanted to do that, we could. The other thing that was suggested was that best practices are for towns to have a rainy day reserve fund of about 5% of the annual budget, which is best practice. For us, that would be about $70K. I did the numbers. So that's just something to think about if we do want to make a rainy day reserve fund at some point. The other important thing that I learned that I wanted to definitely let you know about, Julie, is that so the ARPA funds that we got need to be obligated by the end of 24, and they need to be spent by the end of 26. Now I know that we wanted to use some of them for the wastewater plant, and we wanted to use some of them as matching funds for some upcoming grants. So VLCT suggests, and I think I wrote this down word for word, let me know if this makes sense to you. Once I think I know what it means, but they suggest that all towns transfer their remaining ARPA funds into the general fund as a surplus to create fund balance. Then after that, you can move it to appropriate reserve funds. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we may want to plan to do that with all the remaining ARPA funds, just so we don't get caught left behind. If we do that, then in March of next year, when I do the reporting, we can just say that we used it all to transfer into general fund, because we're allowed to do that since we took the exception.
That makes sense.
Okay, I think we should meet sometime about that, probably just to go over things, but I wanted to bring that up right now. That's it for
That
me.
sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Julie? Frank?
So the capital improvement would be the garage fund, for example, it would have to be voted on, and then that gift or something would be moved into that fund.
That's what I was thinking about, because I know that we are hoping to be able to construct a new town garage at some point, and we don't currently have a fund dedicated to putting money in for it. So if we wanted to set aside money for it, we could do that by making such a fund.
Oh, good. Thank you, Julie. Emergency Management Director.
So there's no report, but just two things to be aware of. Bob Marlino requested, I believe it's November 28th, that there's him and a consultant will be attending under pre-requested appearances to go over the hazard mitigation plan. And additionally, the Rutland Regional Planning Commission let us know that it's time to reappoint our designated people for, like we do every year. And Bob has volunteered to collect all these forms and everybody who's going to be doing it, and he'll bring them to us at the next meeting.
Okay. Health Officer.
Jennifer Sullivan sent a message. I don't think Jennifer's here. No. Sent a message to let me know that the ongoing situation with the camper in West Pawlet, the tenant has been served with the eviction notice and must be gone by November 10th of 23, and Jennifer will follow up with the owner following that.
Wastewater.
I don't think, I'm just looking.
Just had something, just a report.
Did you find the sewer map?
Not yet, but I have to get with Jill on that.
Okay. I don't think. On the 24th, Jill sent an email out letting us know that she'll need some assistance with the renewal application. The NPDES municipal discharge permit. So hoping to find some time in the coming weeks to collaborate. So, is that on your radar, Mike? Are you with Jill on that? The municipal discharge? Permit?
I did not end up talking to her about that. Yeah, but I will try and reach out to her. Under the facilities report, we have some concerns at the library. Do we have some emails?
I was called on the phone first by the director of the library, Lindsay Barnes, and then by Joni, who is on the board, letting me know, even though I don't think I'm still a facilities person, but she called me, so that the ceiling in the children's room that has fallen down before was continuing, the plaster was coming out, and they really feel like they need to get somebody out there to look at it. So I said they should, I took the initiative to say they should try to find a contractor to look at it and get a quote. That's as far as I went.
Harley?
The ceiling has been an ongoing issue, but under control. It was the leaking that is now the concern, that the ceiling there is leaking, so the thinking is that there's a leak in the roof. And somebody who can do slate repairs is needed urgently. It's leaking onto the books in the children's room.
Okay. The last people that we got to do slate repair here was Armstrong, right? Dave Armstrong, Rod. So.
They did good work. They do charge by the day. If I recall correctly, they were about, what, $2,000 a day? Something like that.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah, but they did it all in one day, so it wasn't, he has a reasonably sized crew with big ladders and everything.
Does anyone on the board know him and can get a call back or be treated like they didn't just get off the boat?
I'll try.
Thank you.
And anything else? Just, it's basically the roof leaking, which encourages the roof to fall down, the ceiling to fall down more.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I guess now we know why the ceiling falling down has been an ongoing issue, because the roof is still leaking.
And reportedly from Tom Morlino, it's really difficult to get into the attic to assess what's going on in that building.
Yeah, because of that business up there, I guess, right? That's what he said.
Multiple levels and ladders needed and just insulation, not a solid floor. When asked how to access the attic, his advice was don't do it.
Nice.
Okay. Okay, so we'll see what we can get out. I'll work on him, and if you don't hear anything from me like next week, just shoot me a reminder if you don't mind. Sometimes that slips through. So.
Thank you.
School board? Nothing from the school board? Older unfinished business, body cameras. What's the number? Do we have a current number for that or not? It was.
Price?
Yes.
It's just under $400, I think, $398.
Okay. Not totally.
Just under 400.
Just under 400 each? Okay. How does the board feel about that?
Wasn't that included, I think that was included in the budget that we have to make a decision on at some point in executive session.
That was discussed at the budget meeting.
That was one of the items.
The other thing is, do you still have enough money in your current budget to purchase them?
We're about 1,200. 47.
So that's also an option, right?
Because to keep in mind, the budget that was discussed last week is to go into effect in July of 2025.
Right.
So that's ways down the road.
So, Julie has her hand up. Julie, please join us.
I was just, I'm slightly confused. I thought that we were talking about buying the intoximeters this year, and the body cams were discussed as part of the budget for next year.
Okay. So we got the money to buy the toximeters out of the current budget. And then next year we're gonna adjust accordingly for body cameras? Is that what we talked about?
Well, we hadn't, like, the intoximeters weren't part of any budget planning last year, which was sort of minimal on constable expenses in the way that this year's is much more specific. I think there's money, I can't remember how much they were, but I feel like they were 400 and something a piece. I think that, so there would be money for either one or the other, but maybe not both, depending on what other plans Tom and Dave have. And I don't know which piece of equipment they would want to prioritize if they had to choose one.
Well, they're here, we can ask them.
What do you guys feel? Which ones do you feel would be more beneficial for you? The body cameras you feel would be more beneficial for you? And do you feel that you guys could take that out of your budget without affecting anything? Okay. Brad?
Question with regard to funding. Aren't there federal and state law enforcement assistance grants that would help with the purchase of body cameras?
Yep, we're in the process of applying for a grant for that right now, but we don't know if we're going to get it. That's why we're planning on putting it in the 2025 budget.
And there's one more point I want to make. Oh, well, actually, are you finished with body camera discussion? Or because there's, and this is from my own experience. I did criminal defense work for 39 years. And one of the things about body camera footage is it's got to be stored for a very long time. If there's an open case, if there's a case that's prosecuted, it's got to be kept, I think, until 60 or 90 days after the conclusion of the case. And if no action is taken by the agency, I think it's something about 60 days after the incident. And I mention this because I hope that and it's a good move to have storage body cameras, you have to have some kind of storage capacity so that the footage can be safely stored and available to be accessed by third parties.
Okay. Tom?
Can I answer that? Tom did purchase a new laptop with the storage capacity to that for the constables.
Okay.
The one that we've, model that we've picked out has a docking station that plugs directly into that computer. You don't have to do anything else to it. Once you take it off and put it into that docking station, it automatically downloads it onto the computer and stored on that hard drive.
Okay.
I have a question for the constables. When will you know about the grant, if you receive it or not?
We still have a little bit of time. I got to touch base with Deb. There was a couple things she had to provide to them, and I'm just waiting to do that.
Because my feeling is that this seems like an important piece of equipment that the constables want. If they can fund it through a grant, that's great. If they can't and there's money in their budget, I think they should be able to go ahead and buy it.
That seems reasonable too. And I don't think it's, the $400 for each camera doesn't constitute an expense that we'll have to vote on. It's already in their budget,
Yeah.
correct? Is that correct, Julie? Would we, if they just wanted to take something off their budget each for the 2 cameras, is that something that needs to be voted on, or can it just come out of their budget?
I think you have a $600 rule for approval if there's an expense that's over $600. If you want to treat them as camera 1 and camera 2, they don't need your approval. If you want to treat them as the cameras, they need approval.
Okay, understood, thank you. So that answers that question. So, I guess it's just a time frame of, if you think that by the time the grant goes through, is it worth waiting for, or do you think it's something that we should just go ahead and get quicker to?
There's a limited amount of funds in the grant itself because they're going to all agencies. And but every agency is applying for that grant to upgrade and equip their department with cameras. So we just assume purchase some points. If we have it in our
Take them out of your budget and do it just because you're not sure. Okay.
I know I've applied for grants before to the federal and state actually. And because we do not have an ORI, we're not considered a law enforcement agency and we were denied.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to get that in the works.
Okay. Frank?
So they probably have to make 2 separate orders for 2, not
Right.
1 order for
Yeah.
2.
That's right. 2 separate orders, buy 1 each month, every 2 weeks. Okay. So if you guys can bring that information to Julie and start the process, if that's what you feel is the most effective way, so good. Any other questions about the constables or anything? Okay, thank you. Any other old or unfinished business?
Yes, I have an update on the municipal planning grant, which about a month ago, the select board authorized me to write along with Rutland Regional Planning Commission. It's ready to submit, and I am going to need a form here in just a minute, but I wanted to give you all an update on what exactly ends up being the focus. We had talked about this grew out of the West Pawlet Village Center Master Plan, which was funded with a municipal planning grant that we got in 2022. And in that plan, there were some suggestions about selling off some of the town-owned property into the private sector, both to bring it back onto the town's grand list and to make more opportunities in West Pawlet. So in the particular spot that is being looked at in this scoping study is primarily the southern end of that old quarry parcel. So that's the part that's currently a hayfield. The question of this scoping study will be, is it feasible to sell this property into the private sector as what's called a planned unit development that might have housing or mixed housing and commercial? Or would it be better for that area to be fully commercial or an industrial use? So that's the kind of the question. It would be a study to see what could be done with if the town wanted to sell off that lot. The grant does focus on how bringing that parcel into any use that had wastewater hookups would add more wastewater hookups to our underused wastewater plant in West Pawlet and decrease the fees for all the users and stimulate economic development. So that's, I know there was some talk about the grant also looking at the other town-owned property, the old landfill, but as I talked to the Rutland Regional planners, they were saying that looking at more than one property might be outside the scope of this particular grant, and that it should focus on this one, the southern part of that particular lot. The total grant would be for $22,850, of which $20,565 would be from the state, and our match would be $2,285. So my guess wasn't too far off, because at the budget meeting I was saying something around 3,000 or a little less would be our match if we get this grant. And I have the online account to submit it. I've put up all of the stuff except for the required form, which is the municipal resolution, which says that if we get and accept this grant, that we would be willing to provide the matching funds. And it also names the people who are going to be the primary person, the authorizing official, and a secondary authorizing official, and then the grant administrator. I'm willing to be the authorizing official and the grant administrator, but someone else on the select board would have to be the secondary for redundancy. So if we approve this municipal resolution for the municipal planning grant, I can then go ahead and upload it later tonight or tomorrow morning. The deadline for this grant is 6 p.m. tomorrow, and then we can go ahead and apply for it. So I know that we previously approved going ahead and writing the grant, so this would just, one, I need to know who's willing to be the second alternate authorizing official to write on here, and then, anyone willing?
Mike is.
Mike is? Are you willing?
Sure.
Okay, I'll put you down. Then I wanted to ask if anyone had any additional questions about this grant. And if not, I'll make a motion that we approve this fiscal year 24 municipal resolution for municipal planning grant.
You have a second?
Frank can't second it.
Frank?
I thought that the motion that happened before was to do a comparison of the residential development and for a industrial park development as part of that.
It still is, it's looking first at it as a planned unit development for either housing or mixed use, but it's also looking at would it work better as commercial or industrial.
Well, the straw poll I take when the people in West Pawlet are not for residential development there, and that is zoned industrial.
But
now.
it's only a study, Frank.
Right.
It's only a study.
But we're paying $2,000 for potentially nothing. That's the thing. If it's not really feasible in any regard, which is dubious based on the amount of quarrying you have to go through to get up there to do any sewer work.
Well, if it was an industrial park, it would also need a sewer hookup, wouldn't it?
But the problem is your gravity direction is in several different ways right there. One goes towards Spruce Gum and the other one goes towards West Pawlet, and it's all rock ledge this far underneath the soil. So, and by the time you get done developing it and you put in a house for potentially affordable housing, that we had the Habitat people saying their average house was $240,000 to $260,000, and then you add on the cost of this quarrying and all this stuff, and you no longer have affordable housing there.
Okay, it's all very valid opinion that you have, Frank. But this right here, we'll have it in writing. Yes, it's gonna cost us some money to know for sure, and then the subject will be over. Then we'll know, instead of just having everybody come up with their ideas without any actual facts behind it, is the way I feel.
It should be looked at as from an industrial development perspective as well.
It is.
Value is.
Yes, it is. She said it would.
That's what it is in there, yeah. They'll look at it for
all options.
housing, they'll look at it for mixed use, like housing with commercial together, like housing and shops. They'll look at it for commercial, and they'll look at it for industrial. The reason that we are listing housing first in the grant is because we want to get the grant. And right now, the state of Vermont is prioritizing giving grants to people who are looking at housing. So that's why when we're saying what we want to look at, we're putting the housing first, but we're also talking about commercial and industrial, because we want to be able to get the grant.
For the record, the group that was doing the West Pawlet planning never addressed this in any meeting. that was never part of any survey or any support whatsoever for it. The planner just threw it on himself at the end with no public participation, for the record.
There
That's
was-
actually,
That's fine.
I want to add that there was public participation at the final meeting where he presented it, and there was public participation at the select board meeting where he presented it, where these were brought up. But
but
Do we have a
process-
second on this motion right now?
I'll second it.
Bob will second it.
Bob?
All in favor of us applying for this grant to see what we can do with this money, this property?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
All right, I will scan this and get this uploaded to the portal. Thank you, everyone.
Is there any other old or unfinished business?
Sorry, we need to go down the line and sign it, just like we do for the warrant.
At least we'll know what it's worth when we get ready to sell it
Yeah,
and use the money for something.
yeah, and I mean, if it goes back into the private sector, it goes on the grand list somehow. And yeah, the money we get for it.
So what do we have for new business? Nothing today, okay? Public comment.
There's this person is here.
Almost too late to go through the treatment.
Sorry, I'm giving the cell phone to the officer because I have to take pictures through I came here to my supervisor. It's not easy to work on these days. No, man, I'm speaking. Yeah, I'm Rick Morales. I'm with the Federal Agency SBA, Small Business Administration. You all know FEMA. We were joining with them, but that's one of the reasons of why I'm here. Yeah, I needed to bring more. I just brought like 4. I'll give an overview about SBA, USDA, FEMA, SBDC. So we are visiting. I already did some select board meetings here in Rutland because I have Rutland assigned. Mendon, Castleton, Wells, Fairhaven, and I have worked in Washington County that they have so many damages. We are here in the field. We are pushing the information. We have done so many meetings, interviews with the media. So right now, the latest updates. We are visiting all towns. It doesn't matter if they have damages or no. With a little bit of damages, no damages, a lot of damages. Why? Because the government helped us to share the information with the people through social media, website, email. So that's why we visit too, because we want to share. We want to reach the most people as possible. So that's why we are visiting the select board meetings to help us to share the information with the citizens. And if you all can learn just one thing today, will be great. So that's why we visit too. And some people from other counties that are more affected, they move to other counties, to other cities, towns. That's why we visit to all the towns on primary counties. And Rutland is a primary county. And all this information that I'm gonna give is not only important for these past events of mid-July, for possible future events that we hope that they are important too. The incident period, like you all know, that happened on July for the past floods is between July 7 and July 21. If the person suffered damages before that or after that, they don't qualify. Right now, I know that I'm here late. The deadline for physical damages with the SBA and with FEMA was today, but I came because FEMA and SBA, we have 2 weeks grace period, so the people can still apply with FEMA and SBA. This is not public assistance, this is individual assistance. That means that, for example, with the SBA, we don't only assist businesses, but also homeowners, renters, and nonprofits. And FEMA, they are like, they help homeowners, renters, non-profits. But remember you all that they are helping a lot of towns with damages of roads, bridges. That's public assistance. That's another department. So the information that I'm giving today is just for individual assistance. Right now, the FEMA, they have a DRC in, I know that it's not that close from here, is far. It's in Berry City, it's in Washington County. They have a DRC, that means a disaster recovery center. We work there too, we have CSRs, so if the people go to the DRC, they can apply with FEMA and SBA on the same day, same building, no duplication of benefits. We always recommend, on times of disasters, on the first days, to apply with FEMA, SBA, if Red Cross, Salvation Army, with everything, with all the possible, apply with all the resources, because you never know from what part are you going to get the money faster. That's our recommendation always. And we always recommend the people, the survivors, the people that is affected, we always recommend them to go to the centers, because applying online is not that easy. It's not even easy for us. That's our recommendation always. And on these flyers, here is the 800 number. The people can call there, they can give you the updates of the centers, because they are always constantly opening and closing depending on the visitors. Right now, the one in Berry is going to close on the 9th of November. That's very important to know. Also, I came here because the people get discouraged with the SBA. You all know that we are not grants from the federal government. And I came here to give some examples how the people can take advantage of this and don't get discouraged. For example, for homeowners and renters.
We have a short, a 2-minute window. So I know you're giving us a lot of information, but we have a short.
Chairman, you can stop me at any time. I know that I speak a lot. Okay. So I give some examples. For homeowners and renters, always complete the procedures with the SBA. If FEMA denies you, and FEMA most of the time refer the people to SBA, of course the people get discouraged because of course they don't want it. They say that they don't qualify. But at the end of the day, no fees to apply, they don't have to accept it. And if they are denied by SBA too, SBA might refer them to FEMA, and FEMA might give them all the other disaster assistance like grants. At least the people can have hope to receive something if they complete the procedures with both federal agencies. For businesses, for example, the people that have insurance, instead of waiting for that payment or settlement, they can apply with us and get the money faster and rebuild quicker. And because we have the 1-year deferment with 0% interest rates, nothing that year. So that's why the people sometimes use us to rebuild quicker. And to summarize, we are long-term recovery. Why we exist, why we come into play, because FEMA can give everything to every survivor. In Montpelier, some businesses have like 200,000, 300,000 in inventory and equipment damages. That's why we are an option. You all know that we are not the best option, but for some people, we are the only option and best option. And that's why we always encourage the people to apply with us. And we have approved right now more than 23 million. So we are still here. We are pushing the information. I'm glad that the team is here, because that's what we want. That's why I came here, so you all can help us sharing the information. Sorry guys,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, but we need to stay with our restrictions. And we'll keep these out, and we'll keep them in the room here. So if anybody, we hear of anybody that could benefit from this.
Chairman.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming to the meeting tonight. That's it. Executive session.
Do you have a motion?
Excuse me. I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
To discuss labor relations agreements with employees. Thank you.
I'll second that.
You got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.